What's going on, my friend? I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, and welcome to a proper episode of Stompbox Saturday. Earlier this week, we took a look at a brand new pedal from Nose Pedal by Westminster Effects called the Nosebleed Distortion, and today we're taking a listen to the Snot Rocket Overdrive. As I said earlier this week, Nose Pedal is a new brand from Westminster Effects that seeks to offer classic circuits with modified takes at a great price tag, around $100 USD. And with the Snot Rocket, we have a cool new take on the DOD 250 Overdrive preamp. What all has been changed about it? Well, for one, something is pretty obvious. This has 3 knobs, whereas the DOD 250 has only 2 knobs, volume and gain. This adds on not only a tone stack to it, but also increases the gain range of that classic circuit to give us a little bit more. It cannot just be used as, say, something to drive the front end of a crunchy amp. It can also maybe be used as a cool, raspy sounding and raw and gritty overdrive into your clean amplifier. We are going to put this through all of its paces and do some really fun stuff with it today. But before we get into a control rundown, I would like to ask that if you find yourself enjoying this demo at any point in time, click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. It's a small thing and it doesn't cost you a lot, but trust me, it means a ton in YouTube world. Now, onto a control rundown. The Snot Rocket comprises your classic 3-knob overdrive pedal control layout, volume on the bottom and gain and tone on the top row. Now in terms of the range, which we're going to hear a little bit of in a moment, the tone knob can go from everything to a muffled fuzz, think like the Electro Harmonix Muff Fuzz, to a more spiky treble kind of sound. Not terribly shrill, but something that could actually turn this pedal, the Snot Rocket, into a foundational overdrive for your sound. The gain produced by the Snot Rocket is raw and gritty, one of my favorite aspects of the 250 style overdrive. Turn it down, things start to muffle up a little bit, but they're a little crispy sounding, and the more you goose it, you start introducing more clipping across the frequency spectrum, and it gets a little bit fuzzy, kind of like a little amp that you've got cranked up all the way. It's just a very pleasing sound. You'd be surprised. All right, let's talk about what you're going to be hearing today in terms of the guitar rig. As always, guitars come first, so we're gonna stick with the main Les Paul here for this one. We're going down from a cable into a Boss TU3 for keeping us in tune, of course, and then into the Nose Pedal's Snot Rocket. That then is going into the front end of the PRS MT100 set on the clean channel. Out of the MT100 into the Boss Tube amp expander for the reverb and the delay that you'll be hearing throughout this video, and then to an orange PPC 212 speaker cab with vintage 30s, one of those vintage 30s mic'd up with a Shure SM57. Now, as we've established, the Snot Rocket adds on a tone control to the DOD 250 style overdrive circuit. And that kind of introduces a new wrinkle, I guess I can say, because the 250 doesn't have one. So let's go ahead and go down to the pedal. We'll keep all knobs at noon, but we'll start turning that tone control just to see what that adds as a flavor on top of the overdrive sound that we already get from the pedal. I'm gonna put the volume at unity gain though with the clean tone. found it really fascinating, especially given my age, that simple pedals like 2-knob overdrives, 250s, distortion pluses, and the like had a lot more versatility than I first gave them credit for. But by adding a tone control, we can do much more with this pedal than just, the typical boost to high gain amp thing. We can get lo-fi garage rock tones or even just exploding small amp kind of sounds, and that makes this pedal a whole lot more versatile than what may have come before. In the process of experimenting with the Snot Rocket, I found myself looking at the 3 controls as a group of 3 controls and not 3 individual knobs. Basically, what you do with one will affect how you set the other, and although you should really do that with every pedal that you encounter, the sound that you get out of Snot Rocket really does benefit from that kind of approach. So this is what I want to do. We've got the volume control to be set at unity gain, the tone knob turned up all the way, and the gain at 12 o'clock. Now when I start making adjustments to the tone, I want you to notice what I do after making that first change. What is it that I'm affecting? Maybe ask yourself why I'm doing what I'm doing. After each change, we'll take a moment and I'll explain my thoughts behind it. So what did you notice there? Well, if you noticed this, then you guessed correctly. When we boosted the volume, of course, we got more signal pushed into the front end of the amplifier. But with the gain control at 12, we got a pretty decent crunch out of the Snot Rocket. Once you're boosting that into the front end of the amplifier, that can start to implode on itself. So I turned back the gain control to give it just a little bit more of a crunchy sound. But at the same time, notice that when we boosted the volume, some of those higher end frequencies started to get a little bit more emphasized than the others. By backing off the tone control, we warm it up ever so slightly, but we retain some of that high end. Now let's go back to our starting position and do another one. So what's the thinking behind this one? Well, at first I wanted something fuzzy and woolly, but turning the tone knob down all the way just seemed a little too much, so I put it at 9 o'clock. Once we cranked the gain, I started to notice, because we're adding in more clipping of the signal going on inside the pedal, that some of that high end was still present once I had turned the gain knob up all the way. Back that tone control down to the point where I feel like I've got that fuzzy sound and everything's great. But once you start subtracting frequencies, even if you're pushing gain, you're gonna lose a little bit of volume. You're filtering out frequencies that your ear is used to hearing. You use the volume knob, push that up to 3 o'clock on the dial, and everything is A-okay. The most ubiquitous way to use a 250 style overdrive pedal like the Snot Rocket is boosting the front end of your already dirty, crunchy amplifier. And I've got a couple different flavors here in the amp rack. To this one, we're going to start out with a PRS MT100 on the Overdrive channel, which has a bit of a dumbly characteristic. Now, why would you want to use an overdrive pedal in front of a dumbly style sound? Because maybe I just want a little bit more, and this happens to work out really well. So let's do it. You'll find that when I switch to the neck pickup, we'll get a little bit of a fuzzy implosion compression thing that I personally think sounds fantastic. Now we're into the front end of the Rockerverb 100 set as you see it right here. And what could be more appropriate for an orange with a 250 in front of it? We're going with the SPJ Special, which for those who don't know, is every single knob turned all the way up. my friends, that is the Snot Rocket Overdrive from Nose Pedal by Westminster Effects. Boy howdy, a pedal named Snot Rocket, but it is pretty fitting. This thing crushes the front end of my Rock Reverb 100, and I absolutely love it. But the most surprising thing about the Snot Rocket is how much I like it as on its own overdrive. Something a bit raw, rough around the edges, that's not quite so pristine and polished. Some of that raw kind of think Link Ray rumble kind of energy. Every once in a while, even a modern guitar player like myself needs a little bit of that old school flair, and the Snot Rocket does it incredibly well. But I'd like to know what you thought of the Snot Rocket Overdrive. Share your thoughts in the comments section down below, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for spending part of your day and watching this demo of the Snot Rocket Overdrive. I hope you enjoyed yourself. If you haven't done so already, please do click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. But if you'd like to throw a little extra support behind this channel with your hard-earned dollars, don't worry about sending me money via PayPal or Venmo or donating to a Patreon or anything like that. Just use the affiliate links I have in the description box down below. You can use it for gear purchases large or small, and every time you use them, I get a small commission, and those small commissions add up over time so that I can keep all the lights on here in the studio and make cool videos just like this for all of you. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and until I see you again, my name is Sean Pierce Johnson. I wish you watching great tone, great health, and happy stomping. Cheers, friends. God bless.